Welcome back to the garage. In this video, we're going to be fitting up an MWR air filter to the Ducati 1198S. This air filter is arguably the best aftermarket one available for these Testastretta Evoluzione engines. Let's get started putting it in. Alright, so we finally got to the air filter. It's no easy task on the 848, 1098, 1198 motorcycles. You do have to take basically all of the bodywork off just to get to it. So this is a Ducati Performance air filter. This was put into place with the Terminioni exhaust and ECU upgrade that this bike has. However, it doesn't fix the inherent design flaw of the 1098 series of motorcycles, and that's how the air filter seals up against not only the air box, but the air intake tubes. Now, if you go back to my original video where I went through and discussed this, you can understand why suddenly I've got these little gasket things on the intake tubes. These are not here by standard because I tried to attempt to create an airtight seal for this air filter, but standard, there's just these little rubber O-rings that try to keep a seal against the airbox between the airbox and these air intakes. The truth is this plastic flexes too much, the airbox flexes too much, and it never gets a good seal. And another problem is that the air filter with these rubber gaskets on the side never touch the inside of the air intake tubes either, so you never get a good seal. What that means is dust and bugs and other debris from the road ends up getting into the inbox, ends up going through the throttle bodies into your engine, and it's actually known to be a premature failure point for these 1198, 1098, and 848 engines, just because the air filter doesn't seal up right. But fortunately, there is an aftermarket solution made by MWR that takes care of all of this and basically perfects the design that Ducati should have done to begin with. Now, it's not the cheapest air filter on the market, but it isn't that expensive either. It's just right around $100, and they're these little air filter pods. Now, the reason these are the best design possible is because it eliminates all the complexities of creating a tight air seal. These just simply fit inside of the air box. This seals up against the air box edge, and then that takes care of all of the filtering. This part doesn't need to have an airtight seal anymore because the air filter part starts later on in the stage. So simply just bolt this up like that, and suddenly you've got a completely filtered intake system. Of course, you get two of these because it is a true dual air intake system on this bike. So you just stick those into the air box and you are good to go. Now, before I install those, I'm going to remove my attempt at perfecting this system, which is just these gaskets right here. They come off pretty easily. I use some silicone RTV stuff. Just pull those off. You won't have to deal with this because you didn't do this, but I have to undo some attempts that I made. Now, something to keep in mind about every year, you don't want to re-oil these filters. Of course, it comes down to how much you're actually riding the bike, but I'll probably make it a habit to do it once a year. You need to re-oil them and clean them, and MWR, of course, sells a kit for doing that. That's specific to these filters. You can't use something from K&N or anything like that because these are a special kind of oil. And trust me, you don't want to use any other kind of air filter oil, because I did that once on an MWR air filter and it caught fire. So don't do that. Use their stuff. It's not very expensive. I think the kit is like $20 or $25. It's worth getting it. All right, let's get these things into the bike. All right, so that's all it takes to fit them. Now the hard part is actually putting these intake tubes back on there and getting the bolt holes to line up with these. A little bit of fiddly work, but you can get it done. All right, so those are fully installed. All that's left to do is just put all the body work back on. All right, so all the fairings are back on, new air filters installed. I doubt it runs any differently, but let's start it up and just make sure everything is fine. Yep, I'd say that's just fine. Sounds beautiful as ever. A nice modification that should ensure this bike lives on for many, many more miles. That's all I've got for this video, so as always, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you all again next time.